Okay, so in this question they tell us that ABC is an isosceles triangle. They also tell us that AB is equal to AC. So before I read through any of the other information, I just want to highlight what this information tells us for the drawing. So if we were to draw the triangle, in order for AB to be equal to BC, then that means this point at the top needs to be A, okay? So this will be B and C because these two lines are equal since it's isosceles. Okay, then let's read through some of the other information. They give us the point B as -1 and 5, and they give us C as 2 and 0. Now, just before I continue, it's also important to note that in terms of the orientation of this triangle, this is not accurate because technically if this is -1 and 5, this triangle is rotated a bit. But in terms of being able to answer the question, the position of this triangle on the Cartesian plane is irrelevant. As long as you have this information, then we can go on to solve the rest. So they say that M is the midpoint of BC. Okay, so this also takes some prior knowledge of shape and space. So if M is this point, okay, not only is that the midpoint, but also for an isosceles triangle, if you draw a line down from A to the midpoint, this here meets at 90 degrees, okay? Meaning the line AM is perpendicular to BC, which is going to be important for being able to find the equation. So the question now is they want us to find the equation of the line through AM, which means we need to find that equation in this form, y equals mx plus c. So we need to find the gradient and we need to find the y-intercept c. We're going to start by firstly finding what are the coordinates of m, because in order to be able to find any of these values, we firstly, well, m we can find sooner, but I'm going to talk about that afterwards. Firstly, we're going to find the value for m. So you should know the midpoint formula, which is just x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. So then let's put those values in. Let's make this x1, x2, y1, y2. So then we have -1 plus 2 over 2, and we have 0 and 5 over 2. Did I make any mistake here? Yeah, 0 and 5, that's fine. So then this is just going to be 0.5. 5 and 0, that's going to be 2.5. Okay. Sorry, I'm just realizing I made a mistake. The point C, sorry, is 2 and 10. That's why it's not making sense. This should be 10, in which case this should be 10 plus 5, which is 15. So this becomes 7.5. My apologies. Okay, so now you have M, which is the midpoint, okay? Then we're going to use this information that I pointed out. If AM is perpendicular to BC, then we have a relationship for lines which are perpendicular. We say that M1 multiplied by M2 is equal to -1. So we covered that last year in year 9. So now, obviously, in order to find the gradient, you need 2 points, right? We don't have 2 points for AM, but we do have 2 points for B and C. And if we have that relationship, and since they're perpendicular, if we know the gradient for BC, then if we multiply, well, yeah, if we multiply that by -1, divide that by -1, then we'll find the gradient for AM. So we're going to use these two things now, BC, to find gradient. So let's say y2 minus y1, use the other marker, over x2 minus x1, and then we can just use the same set of coordinates here. So y2 will be we said 10, okay, minus 5 over 2, and be careful for this negative, so it's going to be minus 1, which is going to become positive. So now you've got 5 over 3. Okay, so this is the gradient of BC. Okay, but we want the gradient of AM. Okay, so that means we need to basically take the reciprocal of this and change its sign. Okay, so what am I saying? Let me just get a new page out here. Flip this over. So if the gradient of BC is equal to 5 over 3, then we're going to say 5 over 3 multiplied by m2, which is the other gradient, is equal to negative 1. So then you're going to multiply by 3, and that becomes 5 times m2 is equal to negative 3, and then divide by 5. So m2 equals negative 3 over 5. So that means we know the gradient of the line so far. So in terms of y equals mx plus c, we know y equals negative 3 over 5x. So all we need to do is find c, and this is where it becomes easy. In order to find c, since we can't visually see where this thing cuts the graph on the y-axis on the graph, all we need is an x and y value that falls on that line. And since we found the x and y coordinates of m, which is a point on that line, we can substitute it into here. So we said earlier that m is 0.5 and 7.5. So we're going to take this as x and this as y and put it into the equation in order to find the c value. So then let me just make a split over here. We're going to say 7.5 is equal to negative 3 over 5 multiplied by 0.5 plus c. So you just made an error there. So we're just going to open this up. This is going to be 7.5, and if you put that in your calculator, we'll end up with negative 0.3 plus c, and then we'll just send this to the other side, and the sign is going to change, and that becomes 7.8. So that means the c value in the equation is 7.8. So the equation is, if we put that into here, y equals negative 3 over 5x plus 7.8. And that's the equation.